Hey guys, welcome to my very first Star Wars canon review. Today we're going to be looking at Light of the Jedi. Light of the Jedi was written by Charles Soule and is the first installment in the High Republic series, a brand new era in Star Wars set 200 years before the events of The Phantom Menace. It follows the Jedi during a time of peace. However, that peace is threatened when the Great Disaster happens. When a ship falls out of hyperspace and causes havoc throughout the Hetzal system, the Jedi are sent in to take care of the job, but soon they realize that this is a much bigger threat to the Republic as they face off against a new enemy, the Nile. Guys, I was really looking forward to this book and the High Republic as a whole for several months now. I've just been really looking forward to some new Star Wars in a completely new era that I can get engrossed into. I haven't been really deep inside Star Wars canon for some time now. I read a bunch of the books when they originally came out right before The Force Awakens and then just kind of fell off, and this was the moment where I was like, okay, I need to get back into canon, and I'm so happy that I did, because Light of the Jedi did not just meet my expectations, it exceeded them in so many ways that I have to say this is maybe one of my favorite Star Wars books ever. And that is all thanks to Charles Soule, but not necessarily just him. As you read in his dedications at the end of the book, he says that this book was kind of the brainchild of not just him, but all four other writers that worked on other books in the High Republic era, as well as his publisher, George Lucas, and Pablo Hidalgo, who helped him with a lot of the lore stuff. So this is kind of a combination of everybody, and it works so well. But I'm mainly gonna gloat on Charles Soule because he is the sole author of this book, and man, this guy has a career in Star Wars. I haven't read any of his comics, but reading his first book in the Star Wars universe, I think Charles Soule is on his way to maybe being one of the best Star Wars writers out there. This was phenomenally written, and it's all because of what he is able to do with his world building as well as his characters. Now, this might be a complaint for some people that the characters are... there's a lot of characters in this book, and so in that sense, there's not really a main protagonist per se. There's just a lot of Jedi and a lot of characters, but he does a great job of at least making them feel human and real, which is very different from what I think we've gotten before, where we've gotten kind of stoic Jedi with very little personality, or just kind of caricatures. But these characters feel real, and when things happen to them, you really feel for them, and I was really taken aback by that, with how real they felt. Now, some people are going to say there might be too many characters, and in that way, I can kind of see why they would think that way. There isn't really, again, a main character per se, but there are a bunch of characters that kind of share this role. But I enjoyed all the characters that I got introduced to, and I was worried at the beginning of this book. They kind of throw a lot at you, and I was afraid I wasn't going to remember everybody's name. Everybody has a weird prequel-like name, but by the end of the book, I was remembering people's names. I knew who people were. I knew their species. I knew their lightsaber color, and it was just a lot of fun. My favorite in particular is probably Avar Kriss, who's kind of our main female Jedi, and she's just really cool, and I like how she describes the Force, or should I say, I like how Charles Soule describes the Force in this book, and that's something that I really enjoyed, is just how he built this world and made it so much more interesting. The Force is extremely interesting in this book because everybody looks at it completely differently. Some people see it as what it is, a force, while as people like Avar Chris see it as a song, a symphony, music even. And as somebody that has a music background being in a chamber choir, I thought that was really cool and I could just like visualize it in my head, and it was absolutely beautifully written. And I looked, Charles Soule has a backing in music, so I think that kind of makes sense why Avar Chris describes the Force in this way. Anyway, I really enjoyed that. Also, there's a character I didn't expect to love as much as I did, and that is Bariaga the Wookiee Jedi. And this character, nobody can understand him except for his master who has to translate what he says, but there's this moment where he is speaking to a refugee and it was so heartwarming. Like, he really cared about this kid, and even though this kid couldn't understand him, he knew what he was doing. And it was a very emotional scene that I wasn't expecting at all, and I really, really enjoyed that. But the star of this book is honestly our villains, the Nile, which are these space Vikings, pirates, whatever you want to call them. And they're really interesting, and I was worried that I wasn't going to love this villain unless they had, red lightsabers and were Sith, but I was really taken aback by the depth and the intrigue that is with these characters. They are scavengers, they are vile, they don't believe in anything, and that is very dangerous to the Jedi that believe in the Force and peace and everything, and they believe in chaos. The main villain in particular is a very interesting guy. I like the hierarchy of the Nile. This book does a really good job of portraying these villains and making them extremely unique and interesting within the ranks of their own organization. Also, I freaking love the first third of this book. The first third of this book, the book is split up into 3 parts, basically Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. Act 1 is the Great Disaster, and I love how the chapters are showed like, 2 hours to impact, an hour and a half till impact, 5 minutes till impact. Like, that stuff is really cool, and it makes you tense, wondering what the heck is going to happen, and it just makes you flip through these pages as fast as you can to see what's going on. And that first act is absolutely incredible with how it shows the Jedi in this great little action scene as you see them working together to complete one singular goal. And I think it's almost like a commentary of how people wanted this to be the Jedi that they saw in the prequels and didn't necessarily get. It felt that way to me, at least. And you see the Jedi being Jedi. It's a lot of fun, and that stuff right there is incredibly intense. But my favorite stuff in this book is that second part with the investigation, because we really delve into our characters and their struggles. We get to see more of the villains, and the mystery overall, it just builds and builds and builds and is really incredible. Probably the weakest link for me is the third act of this book, and that's not because it's bad or it's lacking. It's just because I'm not the biggest fan of reading space battles in Star Wars in particular. I'm never engaged by space battles. I always get lost in the dialogue, in the description, in the prose text, and so it makes it hard for me to really get invested with a space battle, and that's kind of what the third act of this book is. It's not a problem on Charles Soule's part. He did an excellent job. It's beautifully written, but I'm just not a huge fan of space battles. I just don't find them very interesting. I really like the character interactions and, well, lightsaber fights. I mean, I love me some lightsaber fights. There's also other little things that I really love in this book. I love that we get introduced to Lor San Tekka's ancestors. I think that's really cool, and they are really into like light speed travel and all this stuff. They're really smart people, and I think that was really cool having that little connection here. And also, there was this one part that I freaked out at because I had recently read the Timothy Zahn Thrawn trilogy, and that is that the Minari Mountains from the Thrawn trilogy show up in this book. If you guys don't know, in the Thrawn trilogy, Coruscant has mountains on it, and George Lucas basically just took the name Coruscant and did what he wanted with it, making it a full, like, city planet. But here, we see an instance where there are mountains, or one singular mountain that is still on Coruscant that hasn't been taken over by the city. And I think that was a really cool callback to the Thrawn trilogy and Legends in particular, and I really, really enjoyed that stuff. I just loved this book, guys. I loved its characters, I loved its world building, I loved how it described the Force. It made it so much more impactful, and when the book was done, I was sad to say goodbye. I wanted more. I want Charles Soule to write more Star Wars books, because this really showed me that he has a talent for writing, and particularly writing Star Wars. This is one of the best Star Wars books. There's not much else that I could say that I had any problems with. I mean, I did say that I didn't love the third act, and that's mostly because of me, that I'm just not a big Starfighter space battle kind of guy, but everything else completely works in this book. It made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me excited for this brand new era of Star Wars, and I can't wait to continue my journey. Well, guys, with all that said, I'm gonna give Light of the Jedi a 9 out of 10. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. Look forward to more Star Wars The High Republic reviews coming soon as they come out, as well as more book reviews and movie reviews. But anyway, as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.